Okay, hello. This is my seventh lesson in a series of lectures on how the United States is starting a new Cold War with Russia. This is going to be real short and simple. It's only one page, and it's just background information. I pose some key questions for you to keep in mind. Try to keep these in mind. And then I give some key takeaway points that I hope people will remember, people will retain. All right, and then after that, we're going to get into a general discussion of the history of the European gas market. All right, but for now, we'll just go on this basic background information. All right, so question number one. The USA is, without any doubt, aggressively attacking Russia's Nordstream 2 and Turkstream 2 gas pipelines with sanctions passed by both the House and Senate, based upon a supposed Russian gas stranglehold over Europe. Now, is the stranglehold real? Does Russia really hold a gas axe over Europe's head? Or is it total bullshit being cooked up to justify aggressive U.S. actions, which are part of a long pattern of provocative actions against Russia, including, well, the U.S. has been attacking their pipelines since '82. During the Reagan administration, they attacked their Urengoy pipeline. And then the U.S. has been pushing NATO membership for Ukraine and Georgia at a time when that would seriously screw Russia. Then also U.S. unilateral abrogation of the ABM treaty for ridiculously bullshit reasons. And then interfering in both Russian and Ukraine politics and pushing pro-West movements, which in part fueled the Maidan Revolution, through which a pro-West government seized power, right? Which is a threat to Russia. All right, so we got a pro-West government right on Russia's doorstep in Ukraine. And then we're flipping client states in the Middle East, like Iraq. Right, how we started that bullshit war in Iraq, how the Bush administration manipulated the Congress and the masses. I taught you that. So what does Russia have left in the Middle East? They got half of Syria. Syria's all busted up. Syria's being torn apart with all sorts of different, interest groups having, skin in the game there. Now it appears the U.S. is going after Belarus, which is a piece of crap economy and the last ally Russia has in Europe. I mean, what does Russia have left? Oh, half of Syria? Belarus? I mean, what is that? That's a joke. Pompeo, just recently has been promising competitive price for U.S. oil and gas sales to Belarus. Now, wait a minute. Who is Pompeo to promise gas being sold by private companies? This is not U.S.-owned gas and oil, right? What does that mean, right? I mean, I'm thinking that probably means he's promising some sort of subsidizing, given the fact that Russian oil and gas has a distinct, price advantage coming straight across pipelines across Russia, close, right? And then U.S., which has to go through pipelines and then be processed and put out the tankers and then shipped across an ocean, and then put back in the pipelines, right? I mean, to compete with that, you've got to be some subsidizing. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm guessing, right? You watch and see. And if they do subsidize, what does that mean? That means direct government interference in the market. That means direct government, essentially, attack against Russia, right? We're stepping on Russia, right? Driving into Russia's market here, right? With government, U.S. government assistance, right? It's not fair play between companies, right? Are these aggressive and expansionist actions taken by the U.S. jamming Russia onto its heels, forcing them to take defensive actions, which the U.S. then portrays to the world as evidence of Russia's expansionist military aggressive ambitions to recreate its, glorious empire days, right? I mean, that's no joke. That's being passed, right? And if there's any politicians, any congressmen, representatives believe in that, oh my God, I know there are. In this section, we'll examine the 2008 Georgia incident. That's a typical example of how the U.S. jammed Russia with a threat. When they reacted, it's portrayed as aggression. Is the USA playing classic get you again games? All right. Now these games, I mean, I don't know if the masses follow them. All right, but they're played all the time. The CIA plays this all the time. Can Russia really threaten European energy security, or will that only kill Russian gas exports? Right. So this whole notion that's being passed, Russia holds a stranglehold over European energy security. Right. We got to do something. We got to attack their Nordstream and Turkstream too. Right. Right. I mean, just honestly, seriously. Use your brain here for a second. Can Russia really threaten European energy security, or will that only kill Russian gas exports by driving Europe to one, purchase other gas that's already available? You know, Russia's gas is not the only gas available here. And then two, construct new pipelines to expand non-Russian gas, right, which has happened in the past, right? And that's, I mean, really why the Trans-Anatolian exists today. Switch to other energies, which is happening right now, and it's going to happen more and more, especially as the price of wind and solar continue to plummet. All right. Is Russia really so stupid to not know that threatening European energy security threatens their own loss of the European market? Are they so stupid that they don't know that they'll be shooting their own foot? I mean, this is like common sense stuff. And is that why they only cut off gas for 3 days in 2006? All right, so they cut off gas to Europe for 3 days in 2006. Now, why did they do that? To threaten European energy security? Hell no! It's because Ukraine is giving them all sorts of problems, stealing Russian gas, diverting Russian gas, not paying for big amounts of gas, big bills building up. They're not paying for it, and they're violating contracts. Right? Ukraine's causing problems. What leverage does Russia have over Ukraine? Well, right, if we cut off gas to Ukraine, well, they're going to suffer for 3 days. Okay, but so also does Russia lose revenues, and so also does that threaten Europe. Right? And the more you threaten Europe, the more they're going to develop alternative sources of energy. Why? Because they need that security. You cut off energy to them, that's their economy. And Europe is not going to be a pansy and lay down and die. They're going to react. They're going to take measures to ensure their security, even if it costs a little bit more. They're going to get gas some other way. Right? And what does that mean for Russia? They lose market. This is not rocket science. It's just basic common sense. Any half-wit should see that there are obvious limits to Russian threat to European security, and it's not in their business interest. Right? They want to keep selling gas to Europe. They don't want to threaten Europe. Right? And, well, you know, okay, I mean, can they really threaten Europe and get away with it? So, even if Russia could get away with threatening European gas security, which they can't, right? They'll just pay for it. They'll just lose. Right? Would that give Russia political or military leverage over Europe any more than it did over Ukraine in the early 2000s, when Ukraine was totally dependent on Russian gas and yet still screwing Russia with gas theft, big unpaid bills building up more, and then violation of gas contracts? You know, Russia would make these deals with them. Hey, we'll give you gas at this cheap price so long as you agree to purchase this amount, right? Well, Ukraine would bust that. They wouldn't buy that amount, and they're still getting a cheap price. So Russia was getting pissed, right? Now, Russia couldn't control Ukraine, and Ukraine was right next door to Russia, and had no other options for gas, right? So, there's Ukraine. Here's Russia, right? Here's Europe. Oh, there's Western Europe. It's separated by all the Eastern European nations. I mean, there's a long way to go here, right? You think, and plus all these nations are in NATO. All right? I mean, come on, right? You think Russia's going to threaten them militarily, politically, right? Hey, they weren't able to manipulate, influence Ukraine. Ukraine's still screwing them, right? Right next door to Russia. mean, you know, it's just ridiculous. So Russia could control Ukraine, and Ukraine was right next door to Russia and had no other options for gas. Europe is one further away, right, protected by NATO, and has many more gas and alternative energy options. Right, that cuts Russia's power. Right. So for the upcoming lecture here with this charts. And this is a lot of information. I hope people can retain some of this. Takeaway points, things I hope people will retain. Knowledge of the history of European natural gas market and Russia's supply to it. Right? How did Russia play into that? Knowledge of the United States' long history of aggressive actions against Soviet and then Russian natural gas sales. Knowledge of how U.S. aggressive actions involve political military moves that threaten Russia. For example, expanding NATO. Specifically, how they pushed NATO on Ukraine and Georgia at a time when it was critical to Russia. Right? And how Russia's defensive response is then spun and portrayed as an expansionist aggression. In this section on gas sales to Europe, we will examine the 2008 Georgia crisis. Right? I'll show you how that played out. Knowledge of the United States' bullshit exaggeration of Russia's threat to European energy security. Right? Knowledge of Russia's weakness in their power to control gas price. Through many means. For example, one, there's plenty of existing gas competition. There's plenty of alternative sources of gas. North Sea gas, Norway gas, Netherlands, Algeria, Shah Deniz, Romania, right? Iran, liquid natural gas. So I'll show you real quick. Okay. So here's Europe, all right? Here's Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe is actually a little bit more vulnerable. We'll talk about that in a second. Here's Russia, all right? So Russian gas comes from Siberia, all right? And the traditional original gas that fed Europe was found in the Netherlands. Groening fields, kind of in the north, central north right there. And then they found North Sea gas. Norway has gas, right? So all these are competition. And then coming across here, we got the big ocean here, right? You got the Mediterranean, Red Sea. So Qatar gas can come up through here. Liquid natural gas. There's liquid natural gas facilities all throughout Europe, even up into Finland has multiple. Estonia has a partially built plant. Latvia is planning to build. There's all around here liquid natural gas. All right. USA is a big liquid natural gas exporter. Then you got Algeria is a big supplier of natural gas. Pipelines going through Spain. Pipelines going through the Italian peninsula here. All right. And then you got Shah Deniz field right off Azerbaijan. Here's Baku. Right there, a little southeast there, big gas field, plenty of gas, right? And that's coming across Azerbaijan through Georgia, hits Tbilisi, comes down here, goes through, gets to Ankara right about there, comes across here, taps into the Trans-Adriatic pipeline that hits Italy, and there's a Brua pipeline. Bulgaria, it goes through Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, and then Austria. I don't know how you got for Hungary. Maybe just the U there. But now this pipeline also taps into this Romanian gas. Now, Romania itself has land gas. It's the 30th largest gas reserves in the world, which is, that's no small thing, right? But it's third in Europe, and they just discovered a huge gas field not too long ago, and they're building pipelines here. They're gonna tap into the Brua. So Brua comes up here, taps into the Trans-Anatolian, all this gas here, and then it's gonna tap in here. That's a lot of gas. That can feed Hungary. That can feed Slovakia. That can feed Czechoslovakia, Poland. Right? I don't know if it's gonna go all the way up to Lithuania, but they got liquefied natural gas facilities. It can hit, possibly fed Serbia, Croatia, that's Slovenia over there. All right, or gas can come this way from Italy to Slovenia. And they're planning pipelines. There's going to be an East Ring kind of in central Balkans, and there's going to be an Ionian Adriatic, on the western Balkans along the coast here. All that's gonna tie into the network of gas pipelines throughout the Balkans. Right. So these are alternative sources, and also Iran taps into the Trans-Anatolian. Iran's gas fields are down here. Their main gas fields are actually in the Persian Gulf, adjacent to Qatari gas field. There's a lot of gas there, right? And that's pumped up through the Persian pipeline here, through that little corner of Iran into Turkey right there. What else? Oh, Turkey. Well, I'll get to that in a second. I think I covered. So there's plenty of options, right? And then there's potential expansion of gas competition. One is they discovered now recently a big gas field in the Turkish economic exclusion zone waters of the Black Sea, right? And then you can have Trans-Anatolian pipe expansion. Turkmenistan can get involved there. Israel, Middle East. So let me talk about these. These are potential, right? And potential are important because Russia has to price low to prevent any, investment in that. So that's going to control Russian price. It's not just existing gas, it's potential gas, right? I mean, that's basic market analysis, right? I mean, that's market analysis 101. That's grade school market analysis, right? So the idea is, one, you got all this gas in the Shah Deniz field right now coming across. Well, you expand the pipeline. Why? Because that pipeline not only carries Shah Deniz, that pipeline can carry Iranian gas, that pipeline can carry future Israeli gas. They found gas in their economic exclusion zone in the Mediterranean, just off the Israeli coast there. That can fuel that pipeline can carry Turkmenistan gas, right? If you expand it, Turkmenistan is the 6th largest natural gas reserves in the world. They got plenty of gas, right? Now, Russia's trying to get its hooks in that market, right? But Turkmenistan can say, screw you, we're going to follow our best interests, our best profit margins here. And if it comes to demand for gas, they're going to build a pipeline here. Now, this pipeline has been shelved. This pipeline was planned before they discovered Shah Deniz field. But as soon as they discovered this gas, well, why the hell do you want to build this pipeline to get gas from Turkmenistan when you got gas right here, right? But if you need that gas, you can build that pipeline. All right. Did I cover all this? Does that make sense? I mean, this is common sense stuff. Oh, Middle East. Yeah. Another possible thing is Middle East. Qatar. Right now, Qatar is the world's largest exporter of liquefied natural gas. Well, that's more expensive. The whole process of you got to compress that gas, you got to cryogenically keep it cool, otherwise it's going to be overpressurized, the big tanks, right? And then you got to ship it through ships, so they're very expensive ships. It's expensive. It's a little bit more expensive, right? Now, if they can pipe it through Saudi Arabia here. Saudi Arabia has gas. They can pipe it through Saudi Arabia, up through Syria, straight up and hit the Trans-Anatolian pipeline. Well, they get it to Europe, all right? That's a goal of theirs. Of course, what's tricky is the situation in Syria, right? You got a pro-Shia with Alawi dominating. Assad is Alawi, which is a branch of Shia, right? So that's a big reason. That's one of the reasons why, Syria is a proxy war. Iran is supporting one side. Qatar and Saudi Arabia are supporting the other side. Qatar is supporting the damn ISIS, and what the hell is the other Al-Nusra? What the hell? Anyways, it's Al Qaeda related group, right? Why? Because they're Sunni, right? Okay. All right. So, yeah, there's potential more there. Plenty of gas. All right. Options. Now, they got not only does Russia have to compete with existing gas, potential gas. They got to keep prices down to compete with these guys. They got to keep prices down so that they don't, invest and develop this potential here, right? They got to compete with other energy sources, coal, nuclear, hydroelectric, especially wind and solar, right? Because wind and solar are by far, right now, the cheapest sources of electricity. And it's only going to get cheaper because they have the greatest potential for further price drops. Why? Well, there's fundamental factors that affect price drops with technology. It's wide open frontiers for technological improvement, right? You think you're going to improve, you think you're going to squeeze much more technological improvement in ways to burn coal? Ah, hell no. Same with natural gas, right? The advancement is in solar panels, technology for that, and then improvements in production process, right? Hell, just look at what the battery day for Elon Musk, production process, how it's going to vastly change things, right? Improvements in supply chains, that's going to happen. These supply chains iron out over decades, right? You know, that's why it's important that some president doesn't come in and throw up all these wacko tariffs, right, to bust up these supply chains. Increased volume of production. The more you produce, the cheaper it gets per unit, right? Economies of scale. Development of energy storage. That's going to be a big boost to the renewable energy, right? And then likewise, development of a super high voltage mass electricity transport grid. Kind of like China's. People say, oh, that's unbelievable, that's far-fetched. Oh, hell no, China's got that already, right? They got a 1.1 megavolt power lines, right, to their far western region. I mean, this is like, this is almost like U.S. High plains, right? The plateau area, right? It's kind of like, dry and desert-like, right? I mean, arid fields. And what's it good for? Well, just build a lot of solar panels there, right? And then, then you build a high voltage line to get a whole slew of electricity, cheap, right, to the east. This is their population centers, right? Now think about it, right? Right? When is the highest demand for electricity? When people come home from work to about like 8 o'clock at night, right? Then it starts winding down, right? So 5 to 8, sun's going down here. Well, you got plenty of sun here, right? The high demand here. I mean, this is probably 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 time zones away. Well, you got two or 3 extra hours of sunlight here, right? To power this. You see how that works, right? It's going to help renewable, especially solar. And then you got the possibility of superconductivity. Now, I mean, again, people are going to say, oh, that's unbelievable. That's pie in the sky. You're not going to get... We got graphene already, right? Now, I know a key limitation of graphene is, production of unbroken sheets. Because if you have fragments of sheets, well, there's poor transmission from sheet to sheet, right? But if you have thin filaments of wire coated with thin layers of graphene, right? Well, that solves that problem, right? Because you got continuous flow of electricity, and then if it gets to like a joint there between sheets, well, it can jump through the metal and then go through the graphene again, right? But who knows? They can have improvements in production process where you can have pretty consistent, reliable, uniform, unbroken sheets of graphene, that's hundreds of miles long. Who knows? Right? And graphene is far more conductive than any metal. All right. So Russia doesn't have a stranglehold over all Europe. In fact, Russia's best price power is only in a handful of Eastern European countries, all with very small GDPs. I mean, what are you going to squeeze out of them? Right? They're so damn small as it is, and each of whom have gas options, except Estonia and Latvia. So let's take a look at that. All right. So, again, here's Western Europe. Right, here's Eastern Europe. Now, the ones that are more vulnerable are in Eastern Europe. Probably the reason why is, for one thing, they didn't develop the gas structures. The gas here was developed initially in the 50s, maybe late 50s. Pipelines being built throughout Western Europe, right? All this at that time was East Bloc, right? So the gas is not going there, right? And so that you don't have to develop. You have gas going all through here, through Spain, so forth, right? Gas pipelines, and now these have lower percentages. I mean, what is France? France buys some Russian gas. It's like 18% of the gas is Russian gas. Big deal. Italy buys some. They're like 30%. Or no, they're less than that, I think. I forget. I'll look at it again. But Germany's the highest. Germany has like 40% of their gas coming from Russia, right? Now, the ones that are really high, the most dependent, are here. You see, now I'm telling you what, this is old data, right? Because it says Finland 100%. No, Finland has multiple, not just one, two. I think they have 3, maybe 4 liquefied natural gas, at least 3. Maybe 4 liquefied natural gas terminals. Okay, so they're getting gas from probably Qatar, United States. All right, they're not 100% dependent upon Russia. All right. Now Lithuania has a liquefied natural gas terminal. All right. Slovakia can get gas from Hungary, Romania. All right. There's Hungary. Okay, Hungary's part of the Brua pipeline. All right, so it's got alternative gas. Bulgaria gets gas straight from the Shah Deniz field, Trans-Anatolian pipeline, tapping through into Brua, and then also can get gas from the Romanian offshore underwater gas fields. You know, I mean, it's a short shot there. You're straight shot to Bulgaria. You know, don't give me this 97%. That's got to be old data, right? Now, all these countries down this list are small GDPs. Every single one of these, right? Even Finland's not that big, right? Maybe a couple $100 billion there, right? Maybe less than 300, I believe, right? Now, these have options. The only ones that kind of don't have options are Estonia and Latvia. Wow! So, Russia can have a stranglehold on Estonia and Latvia. Wow! Don't give me this bullshit that Russia holds a stranglehold over all of European energy security. Bullshit. There's way too many other options. You know, Estonia has a partially built liquefied natural gas plant, but they stopped on that. There's got to be some financial problems with that. And Latvia is planning to build one with the help of South Korea. And I'm sure it's going to be a damn good, you know, liquefied natural gas terminal. Why? Because of the crazy Koreans, man. You know, they'll build something good. Why? Because they build Hyundai cars that can compete with Toyota and Honda and whatever, you know? No. Right? Because they got good engineers? No. Right? The reason why is they got Gangman style, right? And you know, they pretend to ride an imaginary horse, right? Gallop an imaginary horse, right? I mean, anyone who's got the balls to do something that stupid, right? Right? What can stop them? Right? Who's stopping? I'm just kidding. All right. All right. So why have Latvia and Estonia not built liquefied natural gas terminals yet? You know what? Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. Any money, this is correct. Any money. Remember I told you it's not about Russia competing with existing gas supplies. It's also competing with potential gas supplies. So Russia wants to maintain their monopoly gas sales to Estonia and Latvia. All right? So they got to reduce price. They got to underprice so that it is cheaper to continue buying Russian gas than to invest and bring in liquefied natural gas, which is going to be more expensive. All right? All right? So what does that do? That forces Russia to reduce price. Oh, what a threat! Right? Cheap Russian gas for Estonia. I mean, come on. Right? You know this bullshit analysis. Right? So, and then all of these have small GDP. Look at the GDP of Estonia. $42 billion a year. All right? Right? They spend $1.2 billion in gas. What are you going to squeeze a little bit more out of that? You think Russia's going to make a lot of money out of Estonia or Latvia? right? They're poor as hell as it is. Like I said, any money within a couple years, the annual revenue of Tesla is going to be more than the entire GDP of the nation of Estonia. Right? I mean, right? What is Estonia? They're throwaway. Come on. You see how stupid this analysis is? God. And I bet the CIA fed this to congressmen and senators, and they ate this crap up. I just bet. All right. So next takeaway is knowledge of Russia's more profound and fundamental weakness in the long run. So they're weak. They got weakness in controlling price. Right? There's a lot of things that prevent them from controlling price. They have no leverage over Europe. Right? They can't control price. They can't cut off gas for long. All right? They screw themselves. All right? And I'm telling you what, Russia is vulnerable in the long run, right? With their dependence on hydrocarbon exports. To wit, it is a combination of Dutch disease along with the rapid onset of super cheap solar and wind. Both are going to spell doom. Now, I'm not going to explain Dutch disease yet. I will a little bit later. And I'll show you when I get down to... when I get down to here, I'll explain Dutch disease a little bit more. All right, but basically what it does is, right, it stultifies the Russian economy, especially other sectors, especially sectors like high tech and manufacturing, right? So it kind of guts their economy, except for hydrocarbons. They're making some buck there, right? But it hurts other sectors of the economy. And then what happens when solar and wind really kick in, which it will, right? Because there's a lot of incentive to get lower energy prices. There's a lot of money in this. There's going to be a lot of research and development to get cheaper electricity, right? And it's going to pay off. When that happens, they're going to dump gas. And what's Russia going to be left holding? An empty bag, right? They'll be screwed. When cheap and wind solar kick in with Dutch disease already gutting their economy, Russia's going to be left holding an empty bag. Russia's got to get their act together here because it's coming, right? They're going to get screwed in the long run, right? Now, you think these oligarchs who have a big chunk in Gazprom, right, are going to move? Nah, they're making their bucks now, right? Well, who knows? But anyways, okay. So Russia isn't an energy security threat. That's bullshit, right? And I'll prove that Russia is not much of a military threat. In fact, I'll show you how Russia is pretty much a joke. Their military capacity is downright pathetic. Proven, not just throughout history, but recently as well. All right? I'll go through all that in detail. Okay? Hopefully people will retain something. Otherwise, it's just social reality. Whatever we're saying, that's what's real. Yeah, you can read that on your phone in 10 seconds. Oh, I know reality. Yeah, retard reality. So, in reality, Russia is not much of a threat at all, either energy security or military capacity, right? And I believe Russia is more a punching dummy, being propped up by the power elite and neocons to justify a new arms race. Why? Because they're going to make big bucks off of this. They're going to get big spending bills, appropriation bills from Congress, right? And they're going to tap that resource. It's hydrological engineering, right? Still, I don't care how rich they get, right? I just care, these wars, these Cold Wars, where they're fought? In the proxy wars, in the fringes. And that's where the people do the suffering and dying, right? That's what I care about. I don't give a damn if they make all this damn money, I care to the extent where it's drawing resources away that should be better spent on advancing our economy and making us more competitive at helping us shift to a more efficient, cheaper energy system, right? Which is going to be good for the environment as well, right? It's not like they're mutually exclusive. They go together, right? Now, I don't know how cavemen like people in our administration right now, right, think, oh, yeah, we got to stick with hydrocarbons because it's cheaper. What planet have they been on for the past 10 years, right? They space, what is the cheapest form of electricity right now? Wind and solar. And it's only getting cheaper. So, now, that's what I believe. But still, okay, so let's say you still want to destroy Russia. They're not a threat worth jack. But let's say you want to destroy Russia for whatever reason. I believe still the best strategy, right, is not to create some stupid arms race, right? Which they're going to make money. You create an arms race, right? You're going to create insecurity around the fringes. They're going to sell more weapons, right? And they're going to make money off of that. I believe the best strategy is to accelerate Europe's conversion to renewable energy. If you're smart, that's what you do. If you want to take down Russia, that's what you would do, right? If you convert to renewable energy, you destroy the market for gas, right? They're gutted already as an economy. Right? They lose that. Man, what do they got left? Right? They're going to lose a big chunk of their economy. Hydrocarbons is 17% of their economy. Hydrocarbons is 70% of their exports. 70%. I mean, that's what's causing Dutch disease, right? That much revenue, that much demand for their currency, right? To buy gas, right? Jacking up their currency value. I'm not going to explain it yet. Now, not only will this cut revenues for Russia, it will strengthen Europe's economies, right? It'll be a demand stimulus, right, for new construction while providing energy independence and thus security. All right, so I say here, this is an introduction to the next section. The following section is heavy on facts, and so what does that mean? Social reality is going to have a definite advantage. Why? Because social reality is based on no facts. Social reality is based on the larger the mass of people saying it. Oh, that is true. Well, how true is it if they're all idiots who know nothing? Well, everyone's saying it, so it's true. You know, people never stop falling for that. It's just amazing. All right, so this is just an introduction here. I'll stop it there because there's too much here. There's a lot of information here, and it's going to just overwhelm people. I hope people can retain something here. So that's the next lesson, history of the European gas market. All right, we're stopping there.